Hello, everyone. Uh, I'm going to be talking today about Japanese hip hop and globalization of popular culture and men's pleasure, women's labor. Kind of insane that we're already towards the end of the course here, but I've been enjoying it so far. So, for the article, Japanese hip hop and the globalization of popular culture, it revolved mainly around the expression of hip hop as a style in kind of a country that I would consider to be like it's not hip hop's not native to Japan, right? It originated here in America and kind of through globalization, the article argues, just kind of spread to Japan and where it has kind of its own signifiers that are a little bit different than American hip hop, even though it still has the same kind of rap culture and lyrical flow. Obviously, it's in a different language, and because it takes place in such a different culture, there's kind of a few different values that surround it, and it doesn't quite come off the exact same, even though it has the same stylings and trappings of American hip hop. So, one thing that I specifically remember the article mentioning was that if you want to be in the know, you gotta be going to the clubs. You gotta be on top of the scene, basically listening to the new artists. It's basically like an experience where you gotta just kind of be there with a group of people experiencing music, and it's not the same if you're just like listening to it separately, like on a mixtape or a CD, which is a very different experience from kind of how a lot of popular music is today, especially where even hip hop rap beef tends to be kind of people trading songs back and forth, not so much like an experience that you need to be there for, but something that you just kind of get sent to you or integrated into. So for the first question, how do the various specific stylistic differences between Japanese hip hop and American hip hop reflect the differences in Japanese core values and American core values? Uh, I remember in the article it mentioned a lot that they kind of emphasize a bit of countercultural by um, expressing individualism through their music, basically saying like I am or I define myself this way, kind of counter to a lot of Japanese society, which is tends to be very homogenous and like don't stick out. It's a very different culture from, obviously our culture, which tends to be very individualistic, where everyone is their own person and like values being their own person. So American culture certainly values individual personal freedom and expression. Yep, just like I was saying. Sometimes even if it results in violence or lack of communal safety. Provide. Okay. So a specific example I can think of this is just off the top of my head, the argument related to gun violence. Obviously, that's where my brain goes first. Uh, there's a lot of rhetoric around like you have to have the personal freedom to own this deadly weapon, even if it can, in the wrong hands, cause a lot of death or destruction or just general tragedy. And honestly, which do you think should be paramount, personal choice and freedom or communal safety or good? I have a bit of a complicated view on this. I think generally I lean a little bit more towards communal safety or good, especially in this specific instance with gun rights. But for more general freedoms like the ability to express yourself, personal identity, and just like overall freedom to move about and do what you want, as long as it doesn't impinge on the rights of other people, I think I lean towards that area of personal choice. As I think communal safety should kick in when your rights impinge on the rights of others. Okay, so moving on to men's pleasure and women's labor. That article, from what I remember, was mainly just about the kind of sex trade in the Dominican Republic and how there was this one particular town that kind of catered to a lot of these European tourists who were finding ads on the internet basically advertising Dominican women as this kind of exotic commodity, and would kind of draw in people for this sex trade. So, what encourages the globalization of sex trade in the Dominican Republic? basically it was like kind of the fetishization of Dominican women and the exoticness and I guess possibly like the lack of responsibility that you have to take. You're in such a distant country. There's no obligation for you to uh, just like have it as stringent of a moral code, I guess. But I think mainly it would be uh, just the fetishization of the Dominican woman. And many Americans perceive prostitution as, oh, also, yeah, sorry, something else that encourages the globalization, not so much globalization, but kind of in the Dominican Republic is the reason why a lot of the women kind of want to work in this particular trade in this one town is because of the opportunities it provides them in theory. They're they have this idea that if they want or if they um there's like this fantasy or this like I mean it's not exactly fantasy because it could happen, but uh they have this idea that some American or European tourists will come and pay for all their expenses or marry them and take them back to their country and then they'll get out of poverty and it'll solve all their problems in one fell swoop. Um, and so that's another aspect of it, even though that unfortunately does not happen very often. It's very rare. And even if it does, it's not the end of the situation for them. So many Americans perceive prostitution as exploitative of women, and yet in the Dominican Republic it's a way for women to provide for themselves in a way that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. Is prostitution oppressing to women or empowering? Should be legalized? Explain. Okay, so I also have the opinion that sex work is someone's choice. I don't think that it deserves the stigma it has personally, and my opinion is that it should be legalized, but that there should be protections for it, just like there are for any other job. Um, Personally, I don't see anything morally wrong with it. Uh, but I just think that my own personal morals are based on what causes harm to people, and I don't see any harm being committed other than by letting it go unlegalized. And obviously, when the case we have right now, there's no recourse for people who are in the sex trade. Um, so I think for that reason alone, obviously, it should be legalized so that we can reduce the harm that is caused to these women. And as we can see, even when it is legal, it's not like it goes away. So it's not like making it illegal gets rid of the problem entirely. We can only benefit from adding some regulation to that area. And, it should be whoever's choice it is for them to engage in those activities. I have no personal say in it, so it doesn't really affect me. I just think that we should protect them if we can. Thank you. And I kind of miss seeing your guys' videos. So, bye.